Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition, coming to you live from our studio here at Adesawe in Accra. I am Martin Aseidu Dartey. Coming up for the next 1.5 hours, Energy Minister John Jinapor receives a startling report on ECG's procurement investigations, which indicate that over 1,000 containers belonging to the ECG cannot be traced at the Tema port. We have details of that coming up in a jiffy. Also coming up this evening, nearly 100 staff of the Ghana Post Limited to be dismissed for irregularities identified with their recruitment process. And we know that the minister in charge of communication has been speaking. We will bring you his specific position on this also while the bulletin rolls on. And later, the minority leader, Alexander Penyoma-Akin, challenges the Attorney General to arrest all NPP MPs and members of the party if it pleases him, but they will come back stronger and defeat the NDC in 2028. He has been speaking on recent developments about some arrests and investigations of persons who are alleged to have misappropriated state funds under the NPP government. Details of all these, including business, sports, coming up in the next 1.5 hours. Let's settle for the details of these stories now. Before we dive into them, though, we want to bring you highlights of the major stories for this evening.
Now, in summaries this evening, lawyers for the former National Signals Bureau Director, Martin Aseidu Dartey, and his wife have accused the Attorney General of public persecution without fact, denying claims that their listed properties were acquired after 2018. The AG, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, however, insists there is overwhelming evidence to secure a conviction, revealing details of alleged embezzlement in the procurement of a cybersecurity software for the NSB. The Supreme Court has ruled as moot an injunction by Imani Africa and security expert Christian, which sought to prevent the president from removing the IGP and other security agency heads until a substantive case is determined in May 2025. A 5-member panel led by Justice Bafuboni ruled that the pending case does not bar the president from performing his administrative duties. And Communications Minister Sam George has ordered the dismissal of nearly 100 staff of Ghana Post Limited over irregularities in their recruitment process. Speaking at a media briefing, he stated that their appointments were made after the December 7 general election without following proper procedures. He reaffirmed his commitment to ensuring recruitment at the ministry aligns with established protocols. And lastly, an investigative report on the Electricity Company of Ghana has revealed that 1,347 containers meant for clearance at the Tema port are unaccounted for. Professor Innocent Senyo Aqua, who is the chairman of the investigative committee, disclosed that ECG initially reported 2,491 uncleared containers, but an independent audit found only 1,134, describing the situation as alarming. Energy Minister John Jinapor has ordered a full-scale investigation involving the Attorney General and the police to track the missing containers or recover their value.
Thank you very much, Enyonam Haliga, with the latest in terms of summaries. Now let's delve into the specifics of some of the key stories you heard a few minutes ago. We are starting from the energy front because Energy Minister John Abdullahi Jinapor has received a startling report on ECG's procurement investigations, which indicates that 1,328 containers out of the about 2,500 locked-up containers at the Tema port could not be accounted for. The sector minister said that the alarming findings raise urgent questions about the accountability and transparency within the ECG. The final report reveals alarming discrepancies, including 1,328 containers out of the total number which could not be traced and other overstated procurement processes. The Energy Minister, John Jinapor, expressed deep concern over the matter and pledged to take immediate action to prevent such occurrences in the future. Let's listen to him as he addressed the media a few minutes ago.
I find your work very, very satisfactory. You've done a very, very detailed investigation, and I want to commend all of you and thank you very much for serving this country The only thing I can say is that I knew there were going to be challenges, but your report gets me very, very alarmed. One, out of the 2,491 containers, ECG itself presents as containers held at the port, 1,328 cannot be accounted for. That is very serious. That is very alarming. And I assure you, we would conduct a detailed investigation into this matter. And somebody or some people will be held liable for this. 1,328 containers cannot just vanish into thin air. Somebody must be held liable for this. And I assure you that we would hold people liable for this. And whatever it takes, we'll work with the Attorney General, we'll work with the police, and ensure that whichever group, whatever people are responsible for this, are brought to book. And that will retrieve either the containers or the monetary equivalent of these containers. And that I assure you that this ministry would pursue this to its logical conclusion. We also decided that we would move the rest of the containers into a secured warehouse. And let me thank the National Security Coordinator in his office for assisting us so far. They've taken delivery of some of these containers. I've written to National Security to provide us with 24-hour security. We have a detailed catalog or inventory of all these containers, their serial numbers, and everything, and put it in a system where the Minister, ECG, National Security, and if the presidency is interested, everybody will monitor these containers. But what I don't want to happen is that in the attempt to retrieve these containers and keep them, they also get missing along the lane. And I've seen that before. Sometimes you take people there to take stock, and by the time you realize, it becomes another business for some people.
And that's the Minister in charge of Energy, John Abdullahi Jinapo. And let's go to the phone lines now. Joining us for a chat on this very shocking revelation is Duncan Amoah of COPEC. Mr. Amoah, and he's also the acting CEO of the Ghana National Gas Company. Wow. Congratulations, Mr. Amoah, and thank you for joining us.
Let me point that I'm still with the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, not the acting CEO.
Right.
Ghana Gas. No. Ghana clearly is not a poor country. It's not a broke country. We are not poor people as sometimes we are made to believe. If you hear the kind of criminal deeds that ECG has been engaged upon over the past years, you get the indication that clearly we simply had people without a conscience. I know for a lot of organizations, procurements are usually done on a need basis. And so when there's a need for items that probably you run out of stock for, sometimes you put in a procurement bid in order to be able to keep things running. Unfortunately, if you go through what has gone on at ECG, some of which I happen to be privy to, you get the indication that people just sat and decided to rob every Ghanaian for their selfish gains. It was not surprising yesterday the bit of work that the Attorney General has done so far on just one entity review. Somebody decided to take our money and individually procure 27 houses running into millions of dollars. These are the kind of schemes that are cooked within establishments, and sometimes the political figureheads may be aware, but the people in there who help or aid in these things, we would want to see them all, picked up. We would want to see them answer questions as to what exactly informed them to have to go out there to do about 2,000 container loads of things that they may not even have a need for the next 5-10 years. So you're having a situation where people simply decide to be criminal, and then they do so at the expense of all of us. They create crippling debts, and then in the end, when we need to find a way to clear the debt, the people who did the criminal bit are sometimes left off the hook. The Ghanaian who already is paying high for electricity is the one that we come to insist should pay more. The whole ECG enterprise, I think you will need a lot of forensics in there. We cannot allow this to go, that 1,300 containers have vanished in thin air. Containers are not things you can just pick and put in your pocket and then off you vanish with them. I'm sure the port itself is also laden with its own challenges, but if you go through their security systems, their CCTVs, you go through their documentation processes, you should be able to trace who are behind these missing 1,300 containers. Clearly, it's just been a criminal enterprise that the minister is ventilating now. But beyond the ventilation, beyond bringing these issues up, I'm sure most Ghanaians are simply waiting with bated breath to hear that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people engaged in these acts have been picked up, and we are simply going to get back, our money's worth for whoever has been complicit with this. Earlier, the minister had indicated when we met him that sometimes they steal these containers and then they resell the containers back to ECG, at higher market scale. And one will be wondering why ECG will do this to itself. You have imported your own, consumables. You didn't have the money to go to the port to clear.
Duncan, sorry for coming in, but there are those who are as surprised and shocked as you are, and from what you are saying, although there are people in authority to supervise the procurement and onward clearance and distribution and use of these ECG items, along the line somewhere, some unscrupulous Ghanaians, coincidentally, not even foreigners, but Ghanaians, find ways to steal or usurp or find ways to, undermine a process that ordinarily should have had simple supervision. Where are we not getting it right? Because it stands to reason that if an institution, a state institution like ECG, undertakes a procurement, they know how many things are coming in. When it gets in, aren't there state institutions that can facilitate the easy clearance, because it is for the state at the end of the day, isn't it?
Martin, you quite spot on. It cannot be an act of negligence that you put in a certain order and it is not for 10 containers, and then you probably forgot that your vessel or cargo had arrived, and so you needed to pick it up. Unfortunately, people have decided to act as though nothing really has happened. I happen to have just chanced upon the energy minister currently, but that is not to say that whatever has been done by these ECG actors, we should let them off the hook. To further, probe this, those are the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, under whose supervision these containers we should have, been able to police, and who have sat either watching or been caught ball watching or decided it was of no value to them. And so people should be picking these containers and sending them out. I think those authorities or officials at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authorities should not also be left off the hook. We would need to get to the bottom of this, because if as a state, some items as big as containers can simply get missing or get lost in transit, then clearly we have a problem on our hands that we would need to deal with. The ECG cannot be left off the hook on this one at all.
So there's
At all, Martin.
right. I'm sorry for taking a bit more of your time, but So how do you see this proceeding? Are we going to have a state institution investigate where, like you indicated, people at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, people at ECG, or the heads of these institutions form a committee and actually get to the bottom of this and investigate? Because then it stands to reason that if there is a cabal that is undertaking this, it's high time we find them and deal with them. Do you foresee this
Martin,
happening?
there clearly is a cabal behind all of this. There clearly is a group who probably will not be doing this for the first time. It probably will be an operation they have undertaken over and over again. They get away with it. Right down from ECG procurement officers all the way to whoever could have gone out there to ensure that, okay, we requested for this, they have arrived. We've not been able to pay to clear everything. We've taken some out. Maybe we have 1 or 2 or 10 remaining. People who should have been active, right, in getting these containers out and went to sleep. We should ask questions of them. But even beyond ECG and its lapses and the criminality that we've seen with ECG over the period, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority should be gaining notoriety for allowing 1,300 containers, to just vanish. You cannot imagine this. I'm sure if I brought a single Toyota Vitz, right, a small car, that 3 or 4 can fit into one container, and they go missing, probe or investigate those issues. Unfortunately, you are talking of containers, and it's not 10, it's not 5, it's not 3, 1,369.
Unbelievable.
Martin, I think Ghana is not only a crime scene, but we have too many criminals that we probably are still paying, and then we pay for them to perpetuate these crimes against all of us. This should not be allowed to continue. Right down from ECG all the way to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, every individual who has knowledge of these containers that has either decided to go to sleep or being negligent for, I am thinking that national security should be effecting arrest, as we speak, because it cannot be that when I pay for ECG and I'm expecting some efficiency, then people decide that they decide on their own volition to, rip all of us off and leave ECG worse off. Then at the end of the day, PRC comes back to say we need to pay more so that ECG can be sustained, can be, kept operational. It is not how much we are paying. Clearly we are paying.
Yeah.
But if you look at how much we are letting, off, and the kind of corrupt practices that has, bedeviled ECG, I think the devil here will be shivering wherever he is when he hears these numbers. We are not talking of 1, 2, 3 containers that probably you cannot find or account for. You are talking of 1,300, 1, 2, 3. It's,
quite shocking.
It cannot be. It cannot be. It cannot be that people should be picked up, right away. I don't think anybody should be left off the hook, right from the ECG down to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. My boss.
Mr. Duncan Amoah, thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening. We've been speaking to Duncan Amoah, the Executive Director of COPEC. Has been sharing his thoughts on the, what many have expressed as a very shocking disappearance of some 1,328 containers. And they were at the Tema port. Out of 2,500, this 1,328 have just disappeared into thin air. And the energy minister said he is also quite flabbergasted about this particular development, and he's going to ensure that, like you heard Duncan also say, further investigation is undertaking to get to the bottom of these disappearances of ECG's procured containers. And then again, it begs the question that if we have done all of this as a country, why would some individuals amongst us fleece the country, steal from us in broad daylight? And like you also heard our resource person indicate, these are not small items like a mobile phone or even a bag. These are big, large containers at the port, and 1,328 of them have just disappeared. And so we are hoping that some further information will be given us regarding how investigations are proceeding into finding the perpetrators or culprits who have undertaken this particular thievery at the Ghana ports for public knowledge. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition, and our big story for this evening include the fact that the Energy Minister, Abdullahi Jinapo, has received a report that indicates that a huge number of containers that ECG had procured that arrived in the country but were not cleared in time have disappeared. Over 1,000 of these containers have disappeared. We'll keep an eye on how this story unfolds and update you subsequently. Let's go on to some other stories now. This time around, we're going to Parliament, where the Minority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, is challenging the Attorney General to arrest all members of the New Patriotic Party if it pleases him, the Attorney General, but they will come back stronger and defeat the NDC in 2028. Those are the words of the Minority Leader. Embattled former director of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubuahen, and his wife are fighting off allegations of embezzlement labeled on them by the Office of the Attorney General. The AG, Dr. Dominic Aina, yesterday revealed details of embezzlement and the procurement of cybersecurity software solutions for the National Signals Bureau. According to the Attorney General, they have enough evidence to proceed to prosecute. Making statements on the floor of Parliament regarding fallouts of the AG's presser on Monday, the Minority Leader maintained no amount of intimidation will break their spirit, daring the Attorney General Dominic Aina to release the supposed tapes he alleged to have in possession during his press conference. So let's listen to Alexander Afenyo-Markin as he was addressing the members of Parliament earlier today.
They terminate your appointment and you have the ministers defending the actions. Since when did the employment after December 7 become an irregular employment? So far, it is only one minister who has lived up to the promises of the Constitution by refusing to sack Ghanaians in his ministry. But even so, it's too early to commend him. We wait to see what he's going to do. All other agencies are sacking Ghanaians, all because they do not have NDC party cards. This is a government for NDC apparatchiks. They don't believe in the Ghanaian dream. They don't believe in the promises of the Constitution. And they do so because they have no spare to prick the size of their intent. Only partisan ambition overleaping itself and falling on the other. Shakespeare reminds us of this. This is the character of the NDC. It is their party first and nothing else. We have seen how they approach issues of accountability. Mr. Speaker, we in the minority are not against accountability. We believe in accountability, but we are against abuse of human rights. Today, all the human rights lawyers in the NDC have kept quiet. They've gone to sleep. Where are their human rights lawyers? They are human rights lawyers who are in court enforcing the rights of citizens. Where are they? Today, Ghanaian citizens are detained by investigative agencies beyond 48 hours. Ghanaian citizens have their right being abused without taking them to court. The NDC does not believe in the rule of law, and it is clear in their posture. So-called legal search, which ends up in intimidation. Today, if you even criticize them, they threaten you. If you criticize them, they threaten you. They threaten you. And they say, if you dare me, I would release the tape. Release the tape. We tired of the hate, the hypocrisy, and the double standards. We tired.
So that is Alexander Penyomakin, who is a minority leader in Parliament, expressing his thoughts on what the Attorney General Dominic Ayine said in his press conference yesterday. But while in Parliament, the majority leader as well, Mahama Ayariga, insisted that every corrupt act must be accounted for and investigated. Let's listen to Mahama Ayariga as well, reacting to yesterday's press conference and by extension what Penyomakin also said to the House.
Criminal mismanagement of the economy. When this country could have used 6 billion Ghana cedis to capitalize 11 affected banks, commercial banks. We didn't do that. We waited, carry out a banking sector cleanup exercise, and in the end, we paid 30 billion Ghana cedis for a problem that we could have solved with 6 billion Ghana cedis. What else? What else fits the discrimination of criminal mismanagement of an economy? And the finance minister in the budget indicated that even after spending the 30 billion Ghana cedis in the cleanup exercise, we still need 10 billion Ghana cedis. And NIB and ADB need 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. We need all that to be able to restore the health of our banking sector. As a result of the criminal mismanagement of our economy, we have lost control of our economy because our own indigenous banks have all collapsed, and it is the foreign banks that are in charge, and we have lost control over our economy. So when you lose control over the financial sector, you lose control over your economy. Mr. Speaker, let's continue the discussion of criminal mismanagement of the economy. In 2018, a certain finance minister went for Eurobonds of 2 billion US dollars. In 2019, 3 billion US dollars. In 2020, 3 billion US dollars. In 2021, 3.3 billion US dollars. Mr. Speaker.
And that's Mahama Ayariga, the majority leader in Parliament. So we have some news coming in. It came in a few minutes ago, having to do with the arrest and current detention of Kwabena Edujemfi and his wife. Kwabena Edujemfi, you'll recall, is the immediate past Director General of the National Signals Bureau, and he is currently in custody over the misappropriation of some state funds, which the Attorney General mentioned yesterday. The news coming in indicate that he and through his lawyers have applied for a bail, and he is expected to pay some 120 million Ghana cedi as bail bond, and to be justified with 2 sureties. So if he is to be released on bail, whoever would come in to append the signature for that bail condition will have some at least 120,000 Ghana, 120 million Ghana cedis as part of the bail conditions before he is released. And we'll get further details of what exactly is contained in the bail, the bail application in a few minutes when we get someone who's been following this particular story and has read through the bail application to give us details on it. And you'd recall that as of yesterday when the news broke, several individuals, both public and private individuals, expressed different opinions on it, and that's what even came up on the floor of Parliament today, where you had the majority leader and the minority also slugging it out regarding the processes and procedure being used by state security agencies to undertake some of these investigations. So Dennis Poaberi Wedam has joined us in studio to help us go through what the bail application of Kwabena Aseidu Dartey and his wife are. Dennis, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Always a pleasure being here, Martin.
Right. So we know that they've applied for bail. What is contained in the application?
Well, so as you did indicate, we do know what the Attorney General told us yesterday, that the two suspects are still in custody and they are in there not because they haven't been granted bail, but because they have not been able to meet the bail conditions. There's a distinction between you being granted bail and you being able to meet the bail conditions. So what we're being told is that they are still in custody because they are waiting to meet their bail conditions. Fast forward yesterday in the evening, we got a statement from lawyers of these two suspects. That's Kwabena Aseidu Dartey and then Angela Ejibo Dartey, who is in the person of Atachia. Sorry, forgive me. Kwabena Aseidu Dartey, yes. And then Angela Ejibo Dartey. Their lawyer is Samuel Atachia,
yes,
former MP. Now, beyond that statement in which he had made allegations of the breach of the right of the suspects and have that the Attorney General by his press statement has actually judged them or prejudged them before even charging them, he goes a step further today to file an application for bail in respect of these two people. So they are named on the motion paper as the applicants, and then the Iyoko, who is currently holding the suspects or who are keeping the suspects in custody, and then the Attorney General being the respondent in this matter. Now, the case is pretty simple. That yes, you have given them bail, but that the bail conditions set for them are too high, they are unable to meet. So essentially, it does appear that the state or the Attorney General has the intention of unjustifiably keeping them in custody. So this bail application simply is to pray the Honorable Court to grant them bail on conditions that they can meet. In doing so, the lawyer for the applicants, in this case the suspect we are talking about, have actually recounted all that has happened right from the point the suspects were arrested, all through the processes, indicating that there have been instances where he as lawyer has tried to have conference with them even while they were in custody, and he was not given that opportunity as it's supposed to be. Because a lawyer-client conference is supposed to be confidential. But then I think when he got there, they had insisted that he had to do it from the counter and that there had to be somebody listening in. That is quite off the practice.
Yeah.
So all those things have been deposed to in the affidavit in support, praying the Honorable Court that the court grants them bail on terms that they can meet. So hopefully it's expected that if this bail is granted, it will at least not be on the same terms as Iyoko has done, because we do know from the narration so far that in respect of the first applicant here would mean Kwabena Aseidu Dartey. His bail sum is 120 million Ghana cedis with sureties to be justified. What essentially means is that whoever is going to stand surety for you would have to show evidence of some property, landed property, which is worth that much. In such instances, it means that the law enforcement agencies will have to follow through to ensure that whatever properties that are at stake indeed exist and that they are actually owned by whoever is standing the sureties. It's quite a complex thing to do. That's not the only one. The wife too would have to show, the bail sum for the wife is 80 million Ghana cedis. That one too, the surety is supposed to be justified. So the bottom line is that the bail that Iyoko has given them, they are unable to meet the bail conditions. Now they are going to court to say that the court, you give us bail, and then in giving us that bail, give us reasonable conditions that we can meet, so that at least our clients or the applicants can be out there. They've also given an assurance that when they are out there, they will not be able to interfere with their investigations. And all the necessary things that are required for bail, they've been deposed to in the affidavit in support.
I think based on what the Attorney General Dominic Ayine said during his press conference, that there is a possibility they could be flight risks, could be one of the reasons why maybe this particular amount is what has been given as a bail condition.
Yes, so yes. Usually when it comes to bail, those are the things that you look out for. But if the applicants are able to convince the court that they are not at flight risk, in which case, sometimes when the court is even granting bail, they would sometimes ask that the applicants or suspects in this matter would deposit their passports and all that. So when it comes to bail, generally, the law is that it's at the discretion of the court. And once the applicants have approached the courts and they've deposed to these facts that, yes, we are not at flight risk, or that we have surety, people to stand sureties for us, the expectation is that if the court is minded to grant them bail, they will do so.
Okay.
Remember, they are also making the case that they've been held in custody far beyond the 42-hour rule, which is a breach of their fundamental human rights. Yeah. So they are also standing on that to say the court should look and also exercise its discretion in their favor. So, Martin, that's just the crux of this application before the court.
Okay. Dennis, thank you so much for bringing us or updating us on the content of that bail application and the subsequent actions or responses that they have gotten. We'll see how all of this plays out, which would mean that they are still in custody until whether a review of the bail, the bail conditions are given, or they can then be released following the kind of agreement that they will have with the courts. Dennis probably with them updating us on the conditions captured in that application. Still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. It is live from our studio here at Desawe in Accra. And big stories we've brought to you so far include the fact that the latest regarding the arrest and detention of two individuals in the names of Kwabena Edujemfi and his wife. Their lawyers have applied for bail for them, but they are unable to meet the bail conditions, which is 120 million Ghana cedis for Kwabena Edu Boahene and then 80 million Ghana cedis for his wife. Both of them are still in custody they've been in custody beyond the mandated 48 hours. We'll see what happens now that at least some processes have commenced regarding how to release them. And still talking about issues of corruption and the fight against it, the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Mary Awenlana Ada, says that the latest expose has reinforced the need for a more robust system to fight corruption. She believes the passing of the Conduct of Public Officers Bill and the Internal Audit Agency Bill would be a step in the right direction to establish the culture of asset declaration, verification, and publication of public officials.
I believe this current expose has vindicated our call that we need a robust and very legitimate regime within which we can all then say that as a people we want to fight corruption. The institutions of states who have been able to do this investigation and come this far would be the better for it if we have a better Conduct of Public Officers Bill in place. That then clearly states the culture of asset declaration, verification, and publication. This gentleman who started work in this place somewhere in, I think, within the other regimes, maybe 2015, 2016 or thereabouts, who now can boast of 27 houses, can boast of 2 of them outside this country, and can do other things. But that is not to say that we are saying he's guilty, but it calls for a more robust and a very good regime within which this gentleman can now answer the questions. Where did you get these properties from? What is your source of income? And again, we have said the Internal Audit Agency Bill is also very important. Let's get it passed. But then the issue about people explaining their sources of wealth cannot be overemphasized.
Right.
It is important that people explain that within 15 years, within 10 years, I was working in this sector, I was able to make this amount of money, and this is legitimate, and these are the sources, and we can track them and call for people to answer if there is a need.
Right.
And so this is more than evidence that we need to do a lot more and quickly, expeditiously get the Conduct of Public Officers bill passed, and also get the issues around unexplained wealth sorted, and also the issue around doing lifestyle audits. If this were done, I don't think we would have had this challenge whatsoever.
And you heard the voice of Mary Ada, who is the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative there. And clearly, this has been a very big national conversation. So you can also let us know what you make of the current situation. We'll be happy to hear your thoughts on our various social media
and we'll continue this rationalization. I will clean up the ministry, make sure it is lean and efficient, and carries out his work.
Sam George is Minister in charge of communications and has been speaking to the media about some dismissals that have started or have been ongoing at the Ghana Post Limited. He also touched briefly on issues about some radio stations that are likely to have their dials suspended, and he gave reasons as regards to the fact that most of them have not been able to meet the conditions of their spectrum that has now allocated to them, and on the back of that he has asked that it be suspended, and also sought to clarify between suspending someone's license to operate and then also totally revoking the license. So we'll get details of that particular one for you subsequently. And we would try and get some, better understanding or the thoughts of someone who's been following this issue and a labor expert on how such situations can be properly handled. And when we do get that connection, we'll put him on the line and then put some questions to him. Meanwhile, we know that a lot has also been happening in the Ashanti region, and we have been following developments following that fire incident that happened a few days ago. You'd recall that Preston Mahama himself has gone to the place, and then also the regional minister has been working assiduously to try and get to the bottom of it. Would do well to update you on what exactly the latest is regarding the fire incident in the Ashanti region. But before that, let's engage the thoughts of Mr. Austin Game, who is a labor consultant, on the latest development regarding the dismissal of some 100 or about 100 people from Ghana Post Limited. Mr. Game, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Martin, how are you?
Very well, thank you. To start with, the Minister in charge of communications, Sam George, has been lamenting the recruitment of some individuals into his ministry, where he says that, one, most of them did not go through the right process of recruitment, and secondly, some of them were even recruited after the December 7 general elections. And I'm sure you've also heard that the current government says that anybody who was employed after December 7, their application is likely to be reviewed. So on the back of that, he's taken this decision. As a labor consultant, how does this sit with you?
I appreciate the challenges that the individuals may have, but the state interest is also very important because if the entity remain non-performing, what it means is that we will not get any return on the investment of the Ghana Post. It's not a mere entity put together to just serve a certain purpose without return on the investment. And it's normal by HR standards that people would only be employed to serve on specific assigned roles. It does appear this recruitment might not be done with the precision that is required with HR practices. I think that's what maybe the minister might be referring to. And it's also a fact that we all know that people were employed at a time when transitionally it should not be so. Because normally, a specific requisition should have been made with justification as to why they need to employ X number of people to be engaged, to do a particular job in an entity. Unfortunately, that appears to be missing in Ghana here, and as you might have said, as you have said rightly, in Ghana Post as well. Ghana Post, we all know that today, many people, if not 100%, no longer post letters.
You have just 1 minute remaining. You can dial.
We seem to be having a slight challenge with the line there in connection to Mr. Austin Game. Sir, are you there?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yes, we are here. Sorry for the challenge. So you can go ahead, sir.
Okay. So in effect, it might not be the mistake of either a government or of the past and those who have been compelled to employ the people without going through the proper procedure. So if they are letting them go, it's unfortunate. I empathize with them, but that's about the right thing to do.
And Mr. Game, is it that there is a flaw in our
You
recruitment?
have no call credit.
Unfortunately, we seem to have lost that connection to Austin Game. But we'd have to leave it here. Austin Game is a labor expert and consultant and helping us understand what goes, the ins and outs of some of these processes in terms of recruitment, retaining, and probably even now that there has been some dismissals, what are the options available to the individuals who've been affected? We'll try and pick up this subject again, probably in subsequent bulletins. But for now, though, it is time for the latest in the world of business, and Bismarck Ewusa will bring that to us.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ewusa. Coming up tonight, Ghana faces a $1.1 billion energy debt linked to previous government's unpaid arrears to ENI for gas supply. Thanks for your company. Now to the detail. Government is expected to mobilize $1.1 billion in 2025 to settle debts owed to ENI for gas supplies. This includes monthly invoices, letter of credit replenishments, and outstanding arrears. The financial obligation was revealed during a meeting between Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen, Energy Minister John Jinapor, and ENI officials. Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen attributed the growing debt to the previous administration's failure to meet its obligations, forcing the current government to clear arrears while keeping up with new payments. He revealed that Ghana's monthly energy costs stand at 2.5 billion cedis, with fuel and power generation alone consuming 1.9 billion cedis. However, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, collects only 1.3 billion cedis, leaving a shortfall of 1.2 billion cedis every month. To address the financial crisis, the Finance and Energy Ministries, along with the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, will conduct a full review of the energy sector this week. The assessment aims to quantify liabilities and explore a sustainable path forward. The Finance Minister expressed frustration over the inherited debt, but assured that the government remains committed to stabilizing the sector, clearing arrears, and ensuring a reliable power supply. However, he noted that Ghanaians are now facing the cost of past missteps. Meanwhile, the government is expected to implement additional measures to improve revenue collection and reduce energy sector losses as it navigates the growing financial pressure. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Ghana facing a $1.1 billion energy debt linked to previous governments' unpaid arrears to ENI for gas supply. Meanwhile, the finance minister has underscored the need to reopen Ghana's capital markets, emphasizing the critical role of pension funds in restoring investor confidence and driving economic stability. He also assured that the current government will not default on its financial commitments. He stressed that the government is fully aware of its obligations in 2027 and 2028 and is proactively operationalizing the sinking fund to provide strong backing for longer-term bonds. Speaking during a meeting with pension fund representatives, Dr. Forsen highlighted that reopening the capital market is in the collective interest of all stakeholders, as it will help lower inflation, stabilize the cedi, and restore confidence in the financial market. Moving on, the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, is calling on the government to play a more active role in developing local markets into well-structured and modern facilities. According to GUTA's Director of Communications, Joseph Paddy, the current state of many Ghanaian markets, which are largely unstructured and informal, makes them prone to devastating fires. Paddy emphasizes that partnering with private developers to build modern markets would not only prevent fires, but also provide a more conducive environment for traders to operate.
If the indigenous have come out to create a market, government should show interest in the market area so that we can put the necessary equipment and gadgets. For a huge constituency like Abosokan, we don't even have a police post in the whole market setting. So security-wise, we are not secure. So I think these are some of the difficulties we are facing. When you look at it, when you quantify the laws, it's more than even government intervening and putting budgets in place. So we are looking for areas where government can partner the private sector so we come out with a proper structured market area. So far, look at Kantamanto. It's not well structured. But the fear of the unknown, if we have these fire outbreaks and government want to intervene and build the market, but the fear is that would the space go back to the original owners? That's most of the challenges we face when government wants to come in and restructure the market spaces. Because at the end of putting it back, you see that the real owners don't get the spaces again. So it's a concern to the business community and it's a concern to GUTA in general that most of our markets are not well structured.
And that was Director of Communications for the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, Joseph Paddy, and then the business segment here on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.
Still listening to 3FM 92.7. Let's bring you some other stories now. And while we wait for the sports team to join us, we'll try and figure out what the latest in the world of sports is in a jiffy. You know that we are still getting a number of fallouts from the Black Stars game. It's been a very good international break for the Stars. And, when the sports team do join us, we'll get fallouts of our last game against Madagascar yesterday, where the Stars won by 3-0. Ray Kwampofu is joining us in a moment. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment on Hot Edition with me, Oreku Ampofo. We'll be focusing a lot on the Black Stars, who have won back-to-back games in the March international window, and despite picking two crucial wins against Chad and Madagascar to open a 5-point gap in Group I for the 2026 World Cup qualifiers, head coach Otoado is still cautious and has entreated fans to be patient and not get ahead of themselves.
We're in a good position, but this is also a danger. And I'm now already thinking about to keep our heads focused. The job is really not done. Surely, maybe if Comoros wins, it's just again 3 points ahead of Comoros, and we have still a long way to go. We have to be focused. If anyone thinks we are through, then he's making a big mistake. I've seen a lot of football, a lot of things happening, and we have to stay focused. And I'm happy for today, but like I said, the job is really not done.
Well, we still stay with the head coach Otoado because he also stated that Hearts goalkeeper Benjamin Asare is the number one goalkeeper in the national team at the moment, following back-to-back clean sheets at the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Asare, who's aged 32 years, was handed his debut call-up earlier in March and was handed a start for the first time in the national team in the 5-0 thrashing of Chad at the Accra Sports Stadium on Friday.
I think the next game is in June, and at the moment he's the number one. We decided for him. He did well in training. Like I said, it's not like he's here and the others are there. So we have a good situation where the goalkeepers are pushing each other. Really thankful the way Atizigi and Wolcott also behaved during this week. The way they also tried to push Benjamin, to help him, to support him, which is not... I don't take it for granted, but big props for them for pushing him, for giving him hints, and this is good teamwork. And Benjamin really, he deserved it. He did well in the league, but also in the training, the few trainings we had, he did very well, and I'm happy for him.
Well, away from head coach Otoado, let's head to former player Stephen Appiah, who believes that the Black Stars are within touching distance of securing their spot at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The resounding victory over Madagascar, coupled with the victory over Chad in Accra, has given Ghana a perfect opportunity. The two wins from the two games sets up the four-time AFCON winners nicely in Group I, with matches against Chad, Mali, Comoros, and then Central African Republic left in the group. Speaking in an exclusive interview with 3 Sports, the vice chairman of the Black Stars committee assured Ghanaians that the Black Stars are tantalizingly close to securing their spot at the next Mundial.
With the win yesterday, yes, we are almost there, because when you look at the points and the matches that we have and the performance that our boys have showed, yes, we are almost there. Well, we still have 4 games. I mean, when we played against Chad, it was amazing. We were not expecting something like that. So I mean, bring back the love. I think that now we are there. We thank them so much for their support. We thank them so much for their prayers, and they should continue praying for us. They should continue praying for the team, and for sure, we'll be in America.
Well, let's move from one former player to the other and talk about Emmanuel Agyemang-Badu, because he's also commended new Black Stars captain Jordan Ayew for his exceptional leadership, which has inspired the team to secure back-to-back wins. Ayew was appointed captain for the March Internationals, where Ghana faced Chad and Madagascar, and Jordan his impressive performance helped the team bounce back from a disappointing Africa Cup of Nations campaign, first scoring against Chad and then providing an assist in that game and going on to provide 3 assists against Madagascar.
He's a strong guy. When you play with him, you know the kind of player he is. Yeah. And one thing that is well settled about the issue about captaincy now is done and finished. Yeah. And you have the like of Stephen Appiah,
Baby jet is there.
Baby jet is there.
Asamajan is
the job is done.
Yeah.
Straight away, we're going to America. Canada,
we're going to
Mexico.
North America.
Yes. Just that Comoros might win against Chad, which is obvious.
Yeah, but we'll also beat Chad.
They will come on 12. So in as much that we need to be very happy, we are going back to our clubs, come back in September. We are praying that there won't be any injuries, bad things,
that's a very good point. Yeah.
You may never know in football what happens. And so we want to stay on this where we are. The boys want to appease the supporters because they couldn't qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. They said they will qualify the nation to the World Cup. So everybody should be rest assured. But going back to their clubs, all we can do is to pray for them that they will get injury free.
And so that was Emmanuel Agyemang-Badu there. But there's been question marks, especially considering her momentum and whether the team would be able to keep this up. Badu highlighted that in his session where he says that we would have to hope that the players stay in form and stay injury free because the next time they'll be playing the World Cup qualifiers would be all the way in September. However, the Ghana Football Association are thinking of putting together a 4-nation tournament in the UK in June for the friendly window to ensure that the players stay sharp ahead of these World Cup qualifiers later in the year.
Well, fortunately, the technical team and the management will have the opportunity of further working on the team because in June we don't have qualifiers, and so we're playing the 4-nation friendly in England, and I'm sure that there will be an opportunity for the coaches to do some further work on the team. We're hoping that some of the players who are injured would also be back and will be able to also get an opportunity to play at least 2 games before the September friendlies.
And so that was chairman of the Black Stars Management Committee there, Randy Abbey, speaking ahead of the proposed 4 nations tournament. We still don't have proper details of the teams that will be involved, when it will be, but definitely I'm sure it's in the pipeline, and once those details are made public, you would be able to get updates from 3 Sports. But let's do some more where MP for Atiwa East Abena Osei Asari has called on the NSA, GFA and the Minister of Sports to ensure that there is a larger quota of local players in the national team. This comes after the impressive performance of Benjamin Asari, who was in goal for both games against Chad and Madagascar.
Mr. Speaker, but my only concern is that we don't see a lot of our local players in there, and that is what we should look at. We don't see a lot of our local players, but here we are every day saying that Adia will fear Oye to wait. We should grow our own things. We should handle our local, we should appreciate what we have at home. But we don't see our local players. Most of the time, it's the foreign players we call. But yet, we have teams, the Kotoko, the Samatex, and all those other teams who have very good players. So, Mr. Speaker, we are calling on the National Sports Authority, we are calling on GFA, and we are calling on the Minister for Sports to make sure they do everything possible for us to see the local people in the Black Stars as well.
And so that was Abena Asari there, who's the MP for Atiwa East. But before we go, let's hear from Heart of Oak goalkeeper Benjamin Asari, who had the opportunity to be in post for the Black Stars, and he spoke to my colleague Mutala Yakubu after making his debut for the national team in this international window.
Most of the time, we look up national team. So it's good because once I look up there and we means also achieve once I let me call up. So also bet me to so for me, when say look up there, say or a good who are interested in my friend and someone platform.
And so that was Benjamin Asari bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Ore Kwampofo. You can still get some more sports updates on our social media handles at 3 Sports GH. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. Just gone by was business and sports, and we are going on to some other stories before we take leave of you. And our top stories this evening: Energy Minister John Jinapor receives startling reports that indicates that some 1,328 containers belonging to the ECG have disappeared at the Thermoport, and investigations are to commence into that particular development. Also, the minority leader Alexander Penyomarking is challenging the Attorney General to arrest all members of the MPP if that pleases him, saying that the current arrests and investigations are intimidating the members of the NPP. And the Minister for Communications, Sam George, has also given indications that about 100 staff of the Ghana Post Limited have been dismissed following irregularities identified in the recruitment of these individuals into the company, which is the Ghana Post. And also, we are going to the next set of stories that we have for you. And this time around, we're going to the Ashanti region. The 2024 flag bearer of the main opposition, the New Patriotic Party, and former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has appealed to the current administration to use the disaster at the Edum Blue Light Market fire as a clarion call in implementing the second phase of the Ketia redevelopment market project. The former vice president made the call during a visit to the market to commiserate with affected traders at the Edum Blue Light market fire. There's more in this report put together by William Evans Inkum.
If the indigenous have come out to create a market, government should show in.
Friday, March 21, a black day for hundreds of traders. A monstrous fire swept the blue light market at Edum, Kumasi, the Ashanti regional capital. It took firefighters 3 days to douse the ravaging fire. Over 300 shops affected. Structures turned ashes. 2024 flag bearer of the MPP, Dr. Bawumia, visited the fire scene to commiserate with affected traders.
Minda Usha na eya our hopa se nipa ejwadifo omuja padie na shisa mishe video mu.
I'm unable to sleep since Friday when I saw pictures of the ravaging fire. I even saw a man saying he's lost a 21-year-old business. That's quite sad. Leadership of the traders say a soft loan to restart their business will bring them relief.
Our plea to the government is that the help shouldn't come in peanuts, but we are looking forward to something like, say, a soft loan that will help them revive their businesses.
Dr. Bawumia donated 200,000 Ghana cedis and 1,000 bags of cement to the affected traders. He appealed to government to complete the second phase of the Kejetia redevelopment market.
Kejetia market phase 2 project Noah.
I appeal to government to complete the second phase of the Kejetia redevelopment project. We left government with about 80% complete. A delegation from Menchia at the behest of the Santa Hene also visited the disaster scene on Tuesday.
And that's a report by William Evans Inkum, our Ashanti regional correspondent. In a related development, Kennedy Ejapong, who is also an MPP flag bearer hopeful and former member of parliament for Asin North, has also consoled and empathized with the affected traders. The businessman, in a statement, said he is deeply saddened by the fire outbreak that has destroyed several trading shops in Edum, the central business district of the Ashanti region. His heart goes out to all the hardworking traders and families who've lost their livelihoods in the tragic accident. But does this send a signal about their intention to rerun the election? Well, there is a disaster, and on the back of the disaster, we've had two key individuals from the NPP visit the affected traders. But there are those who are already saying that there is a likelihood of some political undertone in there. Let's pick the thoughts of a political analyst